It's time for this week's episode of Brandon's Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon's Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon's Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview Queensboro FC social media coordinator, Synne Flem. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you, Brendan?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to work in professional sports?
Sure. So I've been playing soccer for a while now, all my life actually, and I was born into a soccer family. My dad played professionally in Norway for 15 years. So I always had like sports around me growing up. And then I started college and my major was communications, which was exciting and pretty broad. And then as I went on and played soccer, I just kind of figured out that I really, really want to combine my passion for soccer and my newfound passion for media. So, and throughout my senior year at Queen's College, I started to specialize myself a little bit more in social media because I saw there was a huge market for that and it's still growing so fast. And it's so exciting to kind of like, especially with content and creating content for social media, is so much like different than creating content for like, let's say TV and that kind of stuff. So it's just like combining everything that I love, and especially with sports and soccer, it's just a perfect fit for me because I kind of see like the athlete side, and now I try to understand more of the media part of it. So it's a win-win.
What was it like for you to get to work with the National Women's Soccer League?
So I was very lucky actually. I went to Queen's College and one of my professors is called Michael Cohen. He's huge with soccer in the US. He was one of the I would say one of the biggest advocates for soccer, the sport in the US, and helped me grow and MLS and all those deals to get it more broadcasted. And he's a professor at Queen's College where he went to school, so he's giving back. And he just knows everyone in the industry, and he always tries to get people from the industry to come and talk in class. And I went to class with him and I loved it. And I became his TA my senior semester. And he put me in contact with director of content at National Women's Soccer League, Dana Rubin. And they were just like, yeah, we need some help with, because they just recently started, well, not recently, but the last year, they started streaming their games internationally on Twitch, which is kind of a new thing for sports. You don't really hear that much sports on Twitch. It's more like a gaming platform, but it's growing immensely. And National Women's Soccer League is actually the biggest league on Twitch right now for streaming sports in general. So it's a huge market there, and they needed more people to help with monitoring the chat mostly because it's open for everyone. And as we know, it can be a lot of meanings, opinions about women's soccer. So I'm kind of there to make sure that the chat is just like talking about the game, the sport, and the love for the sport instead of the offensive comments. So just make sure that it's good vibes in the chat. So that's kind of how I got the job for National Women's Soccer League, and my main responsibilities are definitely within the Twitch stream that we do. So it's great, and I basically just freelance for them. So they kind of asked me like in the beginning of Challenge Cup and then regular season, like, hey, when can you work? And I just look at my schedule and I'm like, I can work this in game. And then it's just set up.
What was it like whenever you got to work for them running their Twitch? Because I know that the NWHL uses Twitch too, so.
Yeah, we mean they use Twitch too, like different like different channels, or?
Yes, they use it the same way.
Yeah, so we have 4 different Twitch channels, one official one, and then 2, 3, and 4. And it's basically just because sometimes the schedule for National Soccer League, there's like, we had one Super Saturday, it was like 6 games in one day. So it's just nice to have different channels to stream games at the same time. And they basically just use it for everything for the same. It's I personally can't actually watch the games because it's not available in my region because it's only available for people outside the US. So I usually have like 2 screens open, one for Paramount Plus, which they usually stream the games, or CBS. And then I have my Twitch stream up. So yeah, and I just make sure that everything is running smoothly with the quality and the chat, and if there's any complaints or anything from the fans, I just let the rest of the team know, and then they'll take care of it. So my main responsibility is mostly just controlling the chat and make sure that everything is going smoothly there.
What was it like for you to get the job with Queensboro FC?
It was actually Michael Cohen again, my professor. He was very nice to me at the end of my semester because I reached out to him and I was like, "Hey man, I just love working with you, and I just really have this tunnel vision for getting to the industry now, because that's like the hardest part with this industry is like getting in. Once you're there, it's easier to broaden your network." So I told him I think I'm just gonna send off my resume, like an open resume, to a lot of teams in New York, and hear if they need any help with social media for the spring of 2020, I think it was, yeah, 2020. And he was just like, "Hey, like I work a little bit with Queensboro FC, it's an investor there, and I can give them your resume and cover letter." I was like, "Yeah, sure." And then he gave it to PJ, who has since become my boss and mentor. He's the VP of sales at Queensboro, and also a huge Arsenal fan. So I was very lucky because I'm also a huge Arsenal fan. So even before my interview, we're just like emailing back and forth like our favorite starting 11 and like our favorite players. So it was like right away a really good connection. And then I had my interview and just talked a little bit about like what I wanted out of my internship and what they needed. And then I ended up being the only intern actually with the content group. So we were about 12 interns, but the rest of them are more like the business part of it. And I was very lucky to work more with the media and the media content group that I was a part of. So it was very lucky to get the internship, but it's all through Michael Cohen and then PJ Davidson.
What were some of your roles and responsibilities during the internship?
So I came in and right away they needed a little bit of help with the calendar, managing the calendar. So I was looking a lot of that, and also it was a lot of the same because when I came in, they were still like kind of like posting a lot of the same content on all platforms. So a lot of my responsibilities in the beginning were kind of bringing that outside perspective and kind of say like, "Hey, I think this is working, this is not working. What about we do this and this and this instead?" So I was a part of creating the new strategy for Facebook, which have since grown immensely. So that's really cool to see. So a lot of strategy work, and then obviously what comes to strategy is doing a lot of research and see what other clubs are doing, how are they growing their Facebook and their Twitter and their Instagram. So I did a lot of research as well. I also began creating monthly reports about all like the data insights of how we're performing on our social platforms, kind of see like our following growth, engagement growth, and how many website tabs, how many interactions, that kind of stuff, and also the top 5 best performing posts and the bottom 5 performing posts. So there's a lot of like analyzing what we can do better, all in like with a strategy mindset. And I also helped out at events and later games once our academy team started playing, because as of right now, we don't actually have a men's team or a women's team because we are part of the new W League for USL too. They just announced that earlier in I think it was May. It's really exciting. But right now we just have an academy team. So I'm a part of that group that goes to the games and create content for the academy team, both live on Instagram and Facebook, and also a little bit on the app as well, because we have a QBFC app. So a lot of responsibilities there. That's kind of like my main responsibility now moving forward, is get the app to grow, and also do a little bit about the newsletter that I do with a guy named Kuros, and other intern. And then I also help out with the website a little bit. So it's a lot of different components. It's a really small team right now. So like even if you have a title, you basically just do everything because you just help each other out with the small stuff.
That's amazing. Of course, when it comes to the social media, what is it like to balance, of course, your work life and your personal life when it comes to running a sports team's social media?
It's a very interesting question because sports, like you never really get like, because I wake up early, usually around 9, just start like researching a little bit and make sure that if we have like any huge like DMs from anyone that wants to collaborate with us, blah, blah, blah. And then like throughout my day, I basically just like do small stuff, make sure that I'm on top of my tasks. And then maybe I'm done with sometimes I'm done earlier, like maybe around 5, 6, but sometimes it's just like so much going on, just like I can't really get off work until like maybe later at 9 because we have like a deadline for the newsletter the next day, or we have a lot of stuff going on the weekends. This weekend I actually worked both Saturday and Sunday because we had a community cleanup with Frankie Flo on Saturday in Queens. We went out and just helped clean up a neighborhood. And on Saturday was 718 Day in Queens, which is like a fun little event arranged by a bar called Queen's Bully. So we were attending and had a little pop-up shop and stuff. So worked every day, but it's like with sports, especially, it's just so much fun. So I don't really mind it. I'd rather work a lot than like be bored, if that makes sense. So I love it, and you don't really think about the hours at the end of the day because it's just so much fun. And it's like even if I'm working, I'm not really thinking about it. So it's definitely one of those, I would say, especially with social media, just having so much fun with it. So it's like when the weekend comes, like it's not one of those jobs when you're like, oh my God, I can't wait for the weekend so I can have like some time off. It's just like, no, I don't mind if it's the weekend or not, because it's not like a draining job at all. You just have so much passion for the sport and the work you do.
That's so amazing. Where do you get some of your inspiration from when it comes to the social media posts?
Good questions. I'm a huge Arsenal fan. I think you kind of like get most of your inspiration from the teams you love because you just like have so much passion for them. So I'm a huge Arsenal fan, so I watch everything they do, and I think it's hilarious. They have a couple of videos. I would love to do something similar with Queensboro FC. They have a one segment where they have like the players commenting on the games, which is kind of fun because they have like some cheeky lines and stuff like that. And also, obviously, with NWSL, I think they're doing an amazing job with their social media. So I have take a lot of inspiration from them. And also the US women's national team. They have like a fun little some podcasts going on, and some I saw they did some with Sam Kerr with like a little sit down and like who knows her best, and all of those like mic'd up videos as well. So much fun. So I take a lot of like inspo just in general from what I see from the teams that I love, but I also try to stay in the lanes of USL and see kind of what like the fans of USL like the best. There's a couple of teams that does amazing. Phoenix Rising is amazing on social media, so trying to see what they're doing and get a little, I guess I would steal the stuff that they do the best and take some inspiration from that, and then go from there and see what I can use for Queensboro FC.
Of course, as you talked about using inspiration from the US national team and stuff, are some of the players that play on the team, do they play in the US nationals for every 4 years?
For Queensboro FC, you mean, or?
Yes.
So Queensboro FC is actually, we don't have any players right now for the professional teams. We will be having a women's team though. It's going to be semi-pro. So it's just recently a league that USL just announced. It's the USLW League, which is an amazing opportunity for the girls that barely don't get drafted to NWSL. So they're just up there, but they still want like a league to showcase themselves and maybe get drafted the next year. So it's kind of for those like top players from the top colleges around the world, around the US, I mean, and it's an opportunity for them to kind of like play and showcase themselves to get drafted. So we don't have any players right now, just our boys academy. So no players there, but hopefully maybe in the future we can be a part of girls from Queens get their pathway to pro, and maybe in the future they will be playing for the US women's national team for sure. That's the goal.
What is a typical game day like for you?
So right now, as I said, we just have the academy team. So it's going to be a lot bigger once we start playing at our stadium right here. We're actually building the first soccer specific stadium in New York ever next spring in Jamaica, Queens. So right now it's pretty low key with the games. We're still trying to give the academy team the best support we can get and make it as professional as we can. So I usually get there around an hour before game time, I mean. Right now I play at Mitchell Field Athletic Complex, which is on Long Island, but we're planning on obviously playing on the stadium once it's ready. So I get there like an hour before, and then I help with the other content creators on the team, just getting some content, some videos of the players warming up, and so I'm basically just helping out also if they need literally anything like carrying water bottles or just helping move some goals, anything like that. So it's just a small team, so everyone does everything. But once the game is on, it's usually my responsibility to get like some of the really good live stream video. So I try to stand like behind the goal and maybe get some of the goals in like slow-mo or something that we can use for our Insta story, so it looks really cool, and then help out with a caption after the game or anything like that.
Of course, when you talk about Insta stories and Instagram in particular and Twitter and stuff, how important is it to like keep up to date with them? And do y'all post like regularly during the game?
Yes, it's so important, especially now, and people are just spending more and more time on social media. It's growing so fast. So having a good presence on social media is huge for a team. And we try to get that as early as possible. So even though, as I said, we don't have a professional team right now, we're still testing everything that we can. So once it's ready to go, we're so prepared and we're the best team in the USL on social media. That's the goal. So during the games, we post a lot on social media, definitely mostly on stories from the game itself, around maybe like, I would say 10 story posts on Instagram. And then after the game, we try to have a little slide picture post just of the result, and then a couple of pics from the game, hopefully some celebration pictures. That's usually the post that performs the best. So, and just capture the passion from the players and the coaches and everything that goes on during the game. So it's so important, and we try to be really professional about that and give and also obviously tag the players. They can repost if they want to and spread awareness about the team.
Of course, during each quarter, do you have to post like, so go back to the locker room and get on your laptop and post and stuff?
It's all on my phone actually, so it's pretty handy. We just post through our phone during the game, and then after the game, we have a guy that usually takes the photos, Dembski. His name is John Dembski, or Kiros Morales. As an intern, and Dembski is usually the guy that takes most of the pictures, as well as Kiros. So it's kind of their responsibilities to do the edits after the game, but they're really fast with that. It usually takes about a couple of hours, and then we post later in the night or the next day about the result and a couple of pictures from the finally edited pictures from the game.
What is something that you learned now that you didn't know before working in professional sports running social media?
Wow, I would say that it's a lot more planning than I thought. I think that's definitely something I think is interesting. I had another internship before this, was not related to sports, but it's called Camp Empowerment, which is a female-driven retreat company now in digital. And it's just so much more planning than I thought. Because I remember thinking that they just kind of like looked a week ahead and maybe post a little bit here and there, but it's like so calculated everything. So that's really interesting to see. And I think that's definitely something that we can be better at as well, and just getting organized. And hopefully one day we can plan months ahead of like all the content we want out. But yeah, so definitely the planning of it's a lot bigger. And also, I guess that kind of special way with Queensboro, but like here, as I said, like everyone does everything. So even though I'm in social media, I still have like a lot of other responsibilities. So I think that's something that I thought was really cool coming in here that I wasn't expecting. And I was also say that they really, maybe especially for Queensboro, but I was like, when I came on as an intern, I never felt like I was an intern. I think that's something really special that all companies who strive for, is like treating their interns like with respect. And every single time I spoke up, I can just tell they were actually listening to me. So I felt super valued and empowered coming on as an intern, as a woman in the sports industry. So that was also something that surprised me a lot, because I went from working with just girls, like women at Camp Empowerment, and then I came on Queensboro, like all my coworkers were men. So it was definitely like a little transformation, had to adjust a little bit there, but it was, I never felt that I was like, didn't belong or they didn't listen to me. I felt respected right away. So that's definitely something that surprised me, of how much they listened. And like eventually, once I proved myself more and more, like how more responsibilities I got. So it's just nice surprises overall.
What advice would you give somebody looking to work in professional sports on the social media side?
On social media side, I definitely, I would say honestly, definitely keep your eyes open at all times to something you see that you like on social media. Like take note of that, and then when you get the chance for for a club or team or anywhere you want to work, make sure that you speak up and not afraid to say that, hey, I like this, I don't like this, I think we can maybe play around with this that I saw here. So definitely just like do research all the time, follow as many teams as you can and see what they do on social media. And when you get the chance, don't be afraid to speak up because they want to. I think one of the things that made me stood out as an intern right away was the fact that I made a social media audit, which is basically that I went through, because I was not working for Queensboro yet, I was just an intern and was still like my first week there. So I didn't really know anyone, didn't really know what they were like trying to do with the post they were doing. So I went and I created a social media audit, which basically I went through every single social media platform. So they had a Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and I also did LinkedIn and YouTube. And I just said in a spreadsheet of like what I liked, what I didn't like, and my ideas to engage new followers and ideas to attract new followers, because it's kind of different with reach and engagement on Instagram and all the social media platforms. And I just was brutally honest, man. I was like, hey, I have no idea what you were trying to do with this post. I did not get it. Or for another post, I love this. We should do more of this. And just like threw so many like random ideas in, just everything I could think of. And I went like very specific to, I was like, I hate this font. I don't think we should use this font for the website. Or I love this title used here. It's really capturing. And I did that, and they were kind of like, whoa, that was like, it was so interesting to them, because like I was coming in, I was like their target audience. Like I lived in Queens, I was a huge soccer fan. Like they were trying to target like people like me. So for them to kind of see like what I thought they did well, what I thought they didn't do well, was like definitely like a big surprise. I think it helped a lot with like, okay, let's try to create a new strategy moving forward. Like how can we reach more people and how can we engage more people as well? So definitely don't be afraid to speak up, because the sports industry, it's so hard to get your foot in. It's so hard to rise in the ranks. You got to know the right people and get the right experience. So definitely you got to speak up and make them listen to you.
That's pretty impressive. Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with Queensboro FC at?
Sorry, say that again. I didn't hear it quite, Mike.
Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with Queensboro FC at?
Yeah, so my social media ad is just my name, SYNNEFLEM, Synne Flem, on all my social media platforms. And then QBFC is Queensboro FC in one word. And we're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube and LinkedIn. So definitely exciting stuff going on there. And we're definitely, our biggest platform so far is Instagram. So working on getting bigger there and also bridging some of our followers over to other platforms, to Facebook and Twitter. But we do a lot of good stuff, and we have an amazing head of video, Jordy. He creates the coolest videos, and that's definitely something that makes us stand out a lot. And something that I think that separates us from the other teams in New York, because it's such a competitive market. It's crazy. With, like the biggest team in all sports is the fact that we're a community club. So that's definitely something that we try to get through on our social media, is the fact that we want to be there for our community, help out our community, and be the team that brings kids from Queens the pathway to pro and help them reach their dreams in professional soccer. So we're out in the community every single weekend helping out. As I said, like this weekend, doing a cleanup and with a guy named Frankie Floor, a freestyler in Queens. And it was just amazing to meet the community where they are. And for the Euros and Copa America, we went out to all the bars in Queens. I talked to people and like told them who we are, building a stadium, come watch us play, follow us on Instagram, blah, blah, blah. So it's definitely a much bigger community club than the other teams out there. And we really try to be there in our community. So a club by the community for the community, for sure.
That's wonderful. Thank you again for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you so much, Brendan. You too.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again for your interview, and best of luck.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.